Good evening, everybody. This is Robin with another edition of Horror Pop After Midnight. And my guest tonight, she's a writer, a director, a producer, Diane Jehn. How's it going, Diane?
Good. How are you doing?
Hey, thank you for coming on.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Now, let's talk about your horror short film, Raid of the Living Dead, The Norse Awakens. It's a Viking horror film. Tell me a little bit about that.
So it's specifically made for the Fright Film Competition. And it's going to be screened October 28th in Cincinnati, but I don't have the actual location yet. But they kind of run this festival where you have to kind of fit into three requirements, which is has to be something that's horror related. You have to do a specific shot, and you have to quote a line from a horror movie and also a prop. So our whole screenplay had to fit those parameters so that we could film it.
So what decided you to do a Viking horror film?
So I'm a disc golfer, and a lot of the dudes I disc golf with all look like Vikings. I don't know. It's like a thing with the beards and the mohawks with like longer hair braided. And I just thought this would be perfect to put a bunch of them in a film. And so I had quite a few of them come on and play Vikings because they looked like they just got off the boat.
That's pretty awesome. I got a lot of Viking ancestry myself. Half of my family is Norwegian, and half the family tree is written in Norwegian, the other half's written in English. And I trace back some of my relatives, and I've got some Norwegian Vikings back in the day. So when you were doing this Viking horror film, I was like, ooh, this looks interesting, because I'm going to definitely see it, and I like anything that deals with Vikings.
Yeah. It's all about like North or Norse. I can never say that word. Mythology kind of is sprinkled in. We have like a seer. She's a lead actress played by Castleyn Meadows. And then Ivar is the leader of the Skull Crushers, which is played by Jeff Green. And then Yuri Mammerstein, he plays the leader of the Deathbringers. And that's the two tribes that are kind of at war. And some things develop, and then craziness ensues.
So does this film get pretty bloody?
Yeah. In fact, we start out right in the opening scene, and it's a huge Viking battle that's going on this landscape. So we have like a bunch of the guys, there's Skull Splitter tribe, and then there's the Deathbringer tribe, and they're just kind of going at it. And they did some stunt choreography for it too. So prior to us, like even, filming or doing any blocking, we had Yuri and Jeff, who both are kind of trained a bit in stunt choreography. They had a bunch of stunt swords, prop swords, battle axes, different things like that. And we gave them to each of the people that are involved in the fight scene. And we just practiced for a good hour and a half where they choreographed how they would hit each other and how we would film it. So then we went to the actual site to then do what they learned. It was pretty cool.
It's pretty cool.
Back blood after.
So, where'd you film this at?
We filmed in Hocking Hills. A friend of mine who's a disc golfer, he's actually in it, and his wife's friend. They're amazing. They own a bed and breakfast. It's called Thunder Ridge Bed and Breakfast. And they have like 3 cabins and an 18-hole disc golf course. So we rented a couple cabins so that way essential cast and crew would have a place to stay, because we filmed both Saturday and Sunday. So I just rented them through the weekend. And we filmed on the disc golf course while we were there. He's got probably, I think, about 9 or 10 acres. I'm not exactly sure how many. And it's right in the back of Clear Creek Metro Park.
Okay, I've heard of Clear Creek Metro Park. Now, tell me about the costumes and the armor and all that. Who made all that?
Oh my gosh, it was an assortment of people. I bought a bunch of stuff off of like Amazon, like looking for like kind of like pajama bottoms that were brown and things like that, kind of to give that Viking look, because it's almost like brown scrubs. But we had two amazing people that were actors in it. One is Sean O'Connor, and he does Viking reenactments, and he had just like a whole like van full of just costumes, props, swords, some that were real, some that were like fake. And then Stephanie Wells, she is another person that was an actress, and she too had a bunch of Viking dresses and clothes. And so did our lead, Jeff. He had, I'm trying to think, he brought his own costume along with a few others. And Yuri, who plays the Deathbringer leader, he had a whole an ensemble too of things to wear. It was spectacular, just the amount of clothes and props. I think we had probably close to $15,000 worth of just stuff that people happily brought to make it look more realistic. So it really came together, and I was super thankful to everybody that was able to not just act, but also bring such essential things needed to create that atmosphere.
I've seen some little clips of your film and everywhere on social media and how you filmed it. I like how you use some of the natural lighting in certain scenes for like certain battle scenes. It felt more like realistic with that natural lighting.
Thank you. Yeah, we didn't use any lights at all, believe it or not. It was all just what, the universe and nature had out there. So we got really lucky with the sun that day and filming in the woods. I've noticed now as I'm going back and doing color grading, I'm trying to do some LUTs and put some things in, and I'm definitely having to adjust little things here and there where there's a little bit too much light that came in through the trees versus like an insert shot where it's so close up there that we have a lot more shading. So I have to kind of make that flow together well. But I will say that the lighting just really made everybody just look really nice and glowy. And it's nice, too, because in a lot of zombie films, there's so much darkness that you don't get to see, like, some of the artwork that, the special effects makeup crew does. And so with this, you kind of really get to see it. It's well lit, and you can see the details, see contacts and the red in their eyes and different things like that, which I thought made it look really neat and kind of pulls you in a bit more.
So tell me a little bit about some of the special effects in the film.
So we've got this amazing team working right now in post through Butterfly Temple's studio, which is ran by Joshua Love. And he's got a bunch of people working on just doing our sound mixing and getting some really great ADR stuff put in. And then he put me in touch with a gentleman that does some amazing special effects. And he's going to add where there's some key elements where we have some battle actions happening where we can have some blood splatter and things like that done through After Effects. So I'm really looking forward to see what that finally looks like when it's all done.
I love watching certain scenes of films where you do the splatter blood effect and you see it cover in front of the cinematographer's lens, which makes it feel realistic. You're like the cameraman's like, this is cool. I'm part of the action and I'm shooting at the same time.
Yeah, exactly. It almost turns into like a sporting event at that point. Like if you're like watching people go at it, you get real stuff thrown at you. So we definitely had a lot of fake blood on set.
How much?
There weren't too many people. Oh gosh, let me think. How many I bought these. I don't know how many. I'd say at least a gallon. At least a gallon, maybe a little bit more. Just putting it on people, getting it where it looks like it's coming down when people bite. And then we also had the kind that you could drink that's more mint flavored to have in your mouth. So that way when we have some like scenes where a zombie bites somebody and kind of pulls up, you can see like the blood in their teeth and dripping down their chin and all that good stuff. Like they just ate a bunch of ribs.
Oof.
Great.
I bet they're like finger licking good, right?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
mint flavored. I'm sure it tasted good.
Oh, I bet it has. Yeah, because when I heard about you were doing a Viking film with zombies in it, you had my attention. I was like, whoa, wait. This is going to be cool because you really don't see that many Viking horror short films that involve zombies.
No, it's something I noticed that was kind of untapped. Like, I've seen the closest thing I would think is a little bit of like Game of Thrones, but they weren't really Vikings. They were more, just on the other side of the wall. So it was a little bit different for them. But I kind of never really seen much. I watched a lot of Viking shows on Netflix and all that kind of stuff because I enjoy it. And they're such a brutal group of people as far as the way history tells it that you can only imagine their zombies are just going to be very intense and aggressive, like way more than, what you can kind of think of as a zombie. I mean, these are folks that are skilled fighters and already are pretty athletic and can move well. So I'm sure their dead corpses move well too.
Now, a good film always has a good musical score. So are you having, what's your score going to be? Is it going to be like a mythological Viking type of music?
Oh yeah. Brandon Jenkins is working on this score right now. And he's doing a lot of different things with drums, with like kind of like a chorus, similar to like what we've heard with Viking music, Celtic music kind of vibe, a lot of intensity, beats in there. And Butterfly Temple Studio is adding some like orchestrated music as well to it. So it's going to be kind of a dual combined thing. And then they've added a lot of kind of like sound triggers, I guess, that are very like, when intense things happen, but they still have that tone and just those kind of noises that you would hear. It's not so much, like the synthesizer type deal. It's more like to that traditional sound.
That's pretty cool. Since you've done this movie, you've done like other horror films too. What was your other recent ones you've done?
The most recent would probably be Dead Camper Chronicles, and it's actually a series of 14 short horror films that were filmed in an RV on my property, and it's basically each story involves a different group of survivors that go into the RV to seek refuge and shelter, and you kind of get a little bit of a Twilight Zone-y tale in a zombie setting. It was really cool. We had some amazing actors. I think probably over 100 different actors from Ohio and a couple from Indiana, from Kentucky and Pennsylvania, and also one from Michigan. So we had quite a few people just in this little pocket here in the Midwest that were in it. We had Columbus's own Buster Douglas, who is pretty cool and can do some really great acting work. He's in one of the stories. So it was a lot of cool things that we did and got to do, and I learned a lot in that process. When you film 14 shorts, kind of like one after another, you learn a lot about everything kind of in a quick manner.
So, was it hard to film an anthology film? I mean, you probably had to film all the shorts. Was it like tough at first, or was it like was it a little stressful, or do you think you're like, oh, I can handle this?
It was a lot of different things. Actually, my father had passed away about a month and a half before we started filming, and he was going to be in it. So I think I just kind of threw myself into it to just kind of keep moving forward with everything. So a lot of the stress almost was invited because it gave me something else to process other than grief for that moment. But it was really stressful. It was a lot to just kind of correlate. Just the actors arriving, the crew arriving, making sure meals were available, the pre-production part, and just kind of staging the RV for each different story, because the RV's interior would change as people moved in and out, and you have to keep that continuity happening. And if somebody gives the RV a makeover, you have to make sure it continues to show up in other stories, or if blood splatters here, we have to be able to see it in the next one. So it was kind of hard because some of them we did film out of order, and and it took us a good year to film them all. And so we were trying to capture like all the different seasons. So at some points it's like winter and there's nothing. And some points it's like spring and we're already at least a year into the apocalypse. So the grass is really high and all these different things that kind of happen. But the prepping was difficult, and clearly, like as a producer, you have folks that kind of butt heads and things like that. So you have to kind of make sure everybody's happy, and that the set itself can feel good, so that you can get the best product out of everybody. And I think when a set is like fun, it makes it a lot easier for actors and crew when there's no big heads and things like that, so that you can just kind of focus on getting that story told and doing what you need to do and learn as you go. So it's a lot for sure.
Now, when you're not filmmaking and writing scripts, you're a big, huge fan of Pac Man. What got you obsessed with Pac Man?
I loved Pac Man. I first played it. My dad brought home an Apple II computer with that green screen, and we had a floppy disk of Pac Man. And I didn't even know that there were 4 different colors, and that Pac Man was yellow, and I was already like really decent at it. And so it was probably like, I think the 6th or 7th time, my dad took me down to the corner store across the railroad tracks. They had a Pac Man arcade game, and I had been playing it, and that was the first time I saw it all in color. And I beat it, and went all the way to 256. It took forever, about 8.5 hours, I think, or so. But we took like a little Polaroid picture, and ever since then, I've just loved Pac Man. I don't know, there's something very relaxing about that game. I like that kind of consistency, especially after you get through the 9th key. It's all the same thing over and over and over again. But I don't know, I really enjoy it. And there's actually a game out now for the Switch, but I think it's going to come to an end soon. The servers are going to close. It's called Pac Man 99, and you get like 99 people into a Pac Man game, and you're all playing your own separate game, but as you go and as you eat more ghosts and advance, you can send more things to other people's screen to cause them to die. So I'm kind of bummed it's ending, but I hope to find a way to keep playing Pac Man.
That Pac Man 99 sounds awesome, and the way you were talking about it, how you're trying to kill other people in that would be a great horror film.
Right? Yeah, that would be really cool to have a video game where it's like as you're doing things and then killing them, and in real life they die in some way.
That would be wild. I would still watch that. That would be great. Now, earlier on the podcast, you're talking about disc golfing. So you love playing disc golfing a lot. So when you were like filming with the crew, were you guys all in full costume disc golfing?
There were a couple that are disc golfers that played a little bit in their costumes, but we actually, I'm a stickler on time, so I kind of kept everything moving. So nobody really had that long to find a disc and play. But I have done a couple tournaments that are like Halloween time tournaments, and you can dress up. And actually, last year, myself and my boyfriend went as Vikings, and it was a pretty cool experience to try to throw and have like leather stuff on and crowns and all that kind of stuff.
I bet it's funny. I bet there's probably a lot of people going, "Who are those people?"
Right? We weren't even the most spectacular costumes. There were some folks that went like all out. There was like I believe a Mickey and a Minnie Mouse and just all sorts of stuff where I'm like, how are you able to even throw a disc in that kind of attire? But they were out driving us, so they weren't doing too bad.
So, after you show Rated Living Dead at the Fright Film competition, are you going to be showing it like online streaming anywhere eventually, or are you going to use that and make some other films into like an anthology?
Oh yeah, definitely. I was going to say, it's going to be up on our YouTube channel for the Dead Camper Chronicles channel, like right after Fright Film. And then I'll probably try to enter it in some more film competitions, both here locally in Columbus and around the Midwest.
That would be pretty awesome. And I'm looking forward to seeing it at the Fright Night competition. I'm going to be there too to, check out the competition and all that great horror. I hope I see some messed up films too.
Oh, I guarantee you will. Last year I went and it was a blast. Like, there were so many great films, and I know there's a lot of returning filmmakers that are going to have projects, and I can't wait to see them because there's just a lot of good, scary storytellers around here. So I'm really excited.
Oh, I'm super excited because I mean, I love some horror. So what type of horror do you enjoy? It seems like you're fascinated with zombies. Are you like a big zombie horror fan?
Oh, yeah. I love the zombies, and I love anthology horror films. Like, growing up, I loved, like, Tales from the Crypt and all those different Tales from the Dark Side. There are just so many good little things that, are different. And I think, our attention spans, it's like when you give a bunch of short little stories, you can watch it here and there. It's hard to like sit down and watch a movie. I've noticed like my kid, he's 15 and I don't think he's seen probably more than a handful of films. And it's because it's hard for him to sit down to watch something. So I too, when I was like younger, I couldn't sit for very long. So I like things that were kind of broken up and I could get a short story here and then go do something else and then another little short story, versus trying to like watch something that's like an hour and a half and taking a break and having to remember what just happened before I hit pause. So I love horror stories like that. I love zombies. I love anything that's just really different and odd. I like good special effects too. I want to learn more about that because there's just a lot of great things that I'm seeing now with films that they're doing in After Effects, and I'm just like blown away by.
That's pretty cool too. I'm a fan of practical effects mostly. Do you like practical effects in films? But anyways.
I'm sorry, can you say that one more time?
Oh, I said...
My phone just went...
Oh, your phone just went... No, I was saying, are you a fan of practical effects in films? Yeah, that's pretty good, too. Yeah,
I definitely am.
So where can everybody find you on social media to see what you're doing next?
I have an Instagram account. It's Diane J, just the letter J. And then on Facebook too, Diane Jehn, and also my production company, which is Diana Productions, is on Facebook. And you can find Raid of the Living Dead on Facebook too. They have their own Facebook page.
All right. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you for having me. It was so awesome chatting with you.
It's great. I had fun talking too. I just love having fun podcasting and talking to different guests. It just makes my day. But everybody, thank you for listening.
I can imagine. You got the best job.
No, you got the best job. You get to write horror films, man. That takes a lot. That takes a lot of discipline and thinking and strategizing, man. That's some pretty hard work.
Well, thank you.
And everybody, thank you for listening to Horror Pop After Midnight. Have a